So the final section of Chapter 9 on energy balance and weight management talks about eating disorders. And what you're going to be able to do is distinguish among the types of eating disorders: anorexia, bulimia, and binge-eating disorder. You'll understand the demographic and psychological factors associated with the increased risk of developing an eating disorder. I'll talk a little bit about how ideal body image and the media affect the incidence of eating disorders, and you'll understand what is meant by the binge-purge cycle. What and how much people eat really varies depending on social occasions, emotions, time limitations, hunger, and the availability of food. But generally, people eat when they're hungry. They choose foods that they enjoy and stop eating when they're satisfied. Abnormal and disordered eating occurs when a person is overly concerned with food, eating, and body size and shape, and when the emotional aspects of food and eating overpower the role of food as nourishment, an eating disorder may develop. And eating disorders affect physical and nutritional health and psychosocial functioning, and if untreated, they can be fatal. So the three most common are anorexia nervosa, and that's defined as the self-starvation. It's a distorted body image, and we see that in a person with abnormally low body weight. Bulimia nervosa is the consumption of a large amount of food at one time. We call that binge eating, followed by purging behaviors, which includes self-induced vomiting, exercise, laxatives, etc. And binge eating disorder is the recurrent episodes of binge eating in the absence of purging behavior. So here's a table that allows us to distinguish among eating disorders: anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, and binge eating disorder. What we do know, what causes eating disorders is, what we don't know is we don't completely understand what causes eating disorders, but we do know that the genetic, psychological, and sociocultural factors contribute to their development. And although these disorders are not necessarily passed from parent to child, the genes that a person inherits contribute to psychological and biological characteristics that can predispose him or her to developing an eating disorder. And when placed in the right sociocultural environment, an individual who carries these genes will be more likely than others to develop an eating disorder. So when we talk about psychological issues, people with eating disorders often have low self-esteem, and self-esteem refers to the judgments people make and maintain about themselves, or the general attitude of approval or disapproval about their worth and capability. So those with a poor body image this contributes to their low self-esteem, and eating disorders are characterized not only by dysfunction with one's body, but also with a distorted body image. Someone with a distorted body image is unable to judge the size of his or her own body. So even if a young woman achieves a body weight comparable to that of a fashion model, she may continue to see herself as fat and strive to lose more weight. Very often, people with eating disorders are perfectionists and set very high standards for themselves and strive to be in control of their bodies and lives. And social cultural issues include this idea of the perfectly thin body, which is very unrealistic. The influences from media, family, and friends, along with this abundant food supply that we've been talking about. In this culture of thinness, messages about what society views as a perfect body are not realistic. And genetic, when we talk about genetic issues, that was anything that's inherited. Also, the genes that affect hunger, satiety, and body weight are involved. So what is the ideal body image? And I could probably spend a whole hour talking about this, but what is viewed as a desirable body size and shape is influenced by the society and the culture. So the woman on the right in the upper right-hand corner, in her society, a fuller figure is still desirable, and in many cultures this is. So young women, such as in the Zulu of South Africa, may struggle to gain weight in order to achieve what is viewed as the ideal female body. But as television images of the very thin Western woman become more accessible, the Zulu culture view of plumpness as desirable may be changing. On the left-hand side, we can see that thinness has not always been the beauty standard in the United States. The timeline shows how the female body ideal has changed over the years, and as female models, actresses, and other cultural icons have become thinner over the past several decades, the incidence of eating disorders has increased. Magazine covers and advertisements advertise thinness as a standard of female beauty, and these ideal bodies are frequently atypical of normal, healthy women. Today, fashion models weigh 23% less than the average female, and although many women strive for this thin ideal, only 1% of young women have a chance of being as thin as a supermodel. And then at the bottom, we see the toys that the children are playing with set a cultural standard of the ideal body image. Barbie dolls, we want to be like that. Boys want to be like Superman, Batman, or G.I. Joe. But unfortunately, Barbie's measurements would be virtually unachievable if Barbie was life-size. And the same is true of the big chest, muscular arms and legs, and flat stomach with a six-pack abs seen on male action figures. So anorexia nervosa, that's the desire to be thin. It causes decreased food intake and overwhelming fear of gaining weight, even if you're already underweight. It's characterized by severe weight loss. Amenorrhea is the loss of your menstrual cycle, constipation, and restlessness. Behaviors contribute to the maintenance of a body weight that is greater than 15% below normal, and it affects about 1% of U.S. female adolescents. So for breakfast today, this person, this is her diary, had a cup of tea. For lunch, ate some lettuce and a slice of tomato. And then she loves to cook, but she doesn't eat. And very often, anorexics eat 500 to 600 calories a day, and they still think they look fat, even though they're very underweight or even skeletal looking. Bulimia nervosa is a powerful urge to overeat with a morbid fear of becoming fat. It's characterized by intense fear of becoming fat, negative body image, and a distorted perception of their body size. Behaviors include semi-starvation, interrupted by periods of gorging, followed by behaviors of eliminating extra calories to prevent any weight gain. So here's a person says, I stuck to my diet for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but at 8 I was depressed and bored. I thought food would make me feel better, and I bought 2 pints of ice cream, a large bag of chips, a 1-pound package of cookies, and a half a dozen candy bars and a quart of milk. She told someone she was at a party and she ate them all off, and now she felt weak and guilty, and then she got rid of those tomorrow. She maybe threw up or used laxatives or that sort of thing to try to get rid of them. Binge-eating disorder is when someone engages in recurrent binge-eating episodes but does not regularly engage in purging behaviors. It is the most common eating disorder. So this is my weight's up to, this diary entry says my weight's up to 250 pounds. I hate myself for being so fat. I see I've gained more weight and makes me still ashamed, so all I wanted to do was bury my feelings in a box of cookies or a carton of ice cream. And you can kind of read on. Other eating disorders, anorexic athletes to meet weight goals, female athlete triad is when an energy restriction with high levels of exercise. Bigorexia is bodybuilders and avid gym goers. Avoidant restrictive food intake disorder and selective eating disorders. Night eating syndrome, those people that consume most of their calories at night. pica, people that crave and eat non-food items, and diabulimia. And those are people that misuse insulin to try to control their weight. So that's the end of Chapter 9. Watch the movie this week, and good luck on this week's readings and assignments, and have a healthy week.